Hi guys, welcome back to tea time. I have a brother sitting in.
Where?
I don't know, I haven't seen him, have you?
No, I haven't.
But it looks like he's right there.
Very strange.
He looks kind of like you.
Not really. I mean, I look a lot bigger than that. I haven't lost 60 pounds or anything.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay. My eyes must be playing tricks on me.
Well, you don't have your glasses on.
Oh, that's true, I don't. But I don't need my glasses, unlike some people who are blind. My tea hasn't seeped yet.
Not really, no. You're over there somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can sort of... There you are. Okay. I know your face is there because it looks different than the blue behind you. I am
You aren't that blind.
I'm not that blind. I am just really
You should
blind.
see Michael. His glasses are bad. I can't see my eyes.
Yeah, I have a pretty strong prescription here. Give me my glasses back.
It hurts.
Now you know how I feel with them off. That's why I try not to squint all the time. It just gets painful. It doesn't do anything anyways.
So, today we're going to discuss what makes a good manager. I got this video.
Good manager.
I got a request from this video forever ago, and I have been thinking about it, but I haven't got a chance to sit down and record it. I've been working 2 jobs the last month or so, and it just hasn't happened. So, and before that it was, why are you drinking it? It hasn't seeped yet.
It's delicious. You were saying.
I don't remember.
Before that.
Oh, stuff. It was a combination of me being lazy and me moving and me painting and me having a baby. His whole point of being here is apparently to distract me from recording because I don't get distracted enough as it is. So, in order to decide what makes a good manager, we actually have to define what we're talking about when we say manager, because a manager can be lots of things. A manager can be somebody that is a manager at, say, like a restaurant or, you know, some other type of business. Manager could just simply be someone who's in charge of managing things.
Careful. Whoa, careful, it's Eeyore.
I pull his tail off. His tail doesn't detach. Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
There it went.
It's Eeyore. Of course it does. What other kinds of managers are there, sis?
Well, there are the kinds of managers that manage things, and there are the kind of managers that manage people. And then there are the kind of managers that manage people but aren't the boss. I think specifically the person who requested this video was asking what makes a good manager who's a manager boss. So that type of person is someone who they are going to be in charge of a group of people. Generally that's more than 5. They're someone who are going to delegate tasks in order to complete projects. They're going to need to keep track of progression of those projects. And they're going to have to make decisions in regards to those projects. They're also responsible for managing interpersonal relationships within the group. And they are also in charge of
He didn't manage that very well.
No, he didn't. They're also in charge of being the communication in between their employees and their superiors, meaning they run stuff up the chain of command. So basically the manager that we're discussing today is the boss. What makes a good boss? And I only got 2 points into the other side before I got distracted by manga, apparently. So I'm just going to go ahead and shut that because it's now useless. Like most of my notes. I think the most important part of being a good boss is having the ability to read people. Especially if you're working in something like in the service industry. If you're working as a manager in the service industry, you really have to be able to know how to read people. Not what just exploded over there.
They're under attack by the world raid boss's name. I can't think of the calendar.
Oh, okay.
Would you like me to remove some of the distractions, dear?
I'm not used to recording with...
You have an audience in addition to me. And the 4,000 people I intend to load this up to.
Hmm.
Hi. I don't think she's going to stay there.
So, as I was saying, I think the most important part of having a big white screen in front of my face.
Hang on, I got a way to fix that too. Nope. Keep talking. Ignore me.
Aha! Now I have a big black screen in front of my face. Anyway, I think the most important part of being a good boss is knowing how to deal with people effectively. You need to be able to read people. Not just customers and guests, depending on what industry you work in, but you need to be able to read your employees. We'll start there. Not everyone has stuff stuck to their feet in the same way.
That is true if you think about it.
Not everyone requires the same amount of attention or indeed the same kind of attention from someone who is leading them, guiding them. For example, I'm the type of person that works best in a situation where I'm given a set of instructions, not even a set of instructions, I'm given a goal, and you explain what you want, and then you just kind of let me be. I go and I figure out what I believe is going to be the best possible way to reach that goal, and then I work at it. I'm not someone who really requires a whole lot of supervision. But then again, there are also people who you have to almost micromanage, or actually micromanage, because if you leave them alone, they'll get distracted, or they're just plain lazy, or they don't know, or they're what?
They lack motivation.
Or they lack the motivation. You know, if someone's not there telling them they're doing a good job the whole time, they can't do it. They have no desire to do it. And being able to get to know someone to the level of understanding, you know, what kind of motivation these people need, what kind of supervision they need, is something that is highly desirable. And in fact, in my opinion, if you can't master that skill, you will never be a good manager. You might be a successful manager, but being a successful manager and being a good manager, in my opinion, are two different things. Because you can be successful and not have happy employees. And if your employees aren't happy, you aren't doing your job.
I didn't say anything.
I caught the feeling that you had something to input there.
No. I was just thinking about a company known as EA, which is arguably successful and one of the worst managing companies that I'm aware of off the top of my head.
I'm afraid I'm not familiar with the management style of EA games.
Well, their management style is very simple, if you'll allow me to elaborate in brief. You, as my employee, are a resource, not a person.
A tool.
That's it.
Indeed, this is one of the many flaws that I find that a lot of managers have. Either one, they aren't capable of managing in different styles and therefore fall into the trap of everyone must be managed under this particular style, and if an employee flounders while under that particular management style, then that is the failure of the employee, not the failure of the manager. A point of which I very strongly disagree with. As a manager, it is your job to see that all of your employees flourish, no matter what style of management they require. They are not a resource, nor are they robots. They are people. And Pax is talking to us. Are you going to sip my tea? Thank you.
I wanted you to see if it was alright. I can move it a bit if you'd like.
I think the problem is that I put the ice in it to cool it too soon. I should have let it seep before I put the ice in.
It's still good.
It is. That reminds me, I didn't go over what we're drinking today. I am drinking a bagged tea. It is made by a company named Bigelow, which has a plant here in the city that I live in. I've actually met the owners of the Bigelow company. But this is their mint melody tea, and it is quite good for a bagged tea. Medley. What'd I say?
Melody.
Whoops. I said the wrong word. And now I get scritches. Ooh, the tickles.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm almost through with my tea.
I never finish my tea while taking the videos because I spend the entire time talking and I don't actually get to drink my tea. So it's kind of like my reward when I get done for the night after I'm finished recording. I get to drink my tea. And it's like, look, I have been a good girl. I did my recording and now I get tea.
Well, then I get to take this away from you then. You'll get this if you were a good girl tonight. You can have the rest of my tea because there's not as much.
There's actually more because this was a bigger cup.
Hang on. Here, have your tea.
Thank you. It is. So, getting back to where I was, I think that understanding people is the most valuable resource, specifically, regardless of whether you're a manager that has to deal with customers and guests or other people not under your direct supervision. Because your employees are people. Your team members are people. Part B of that is, especially if you are in the service industry, understanding how to communicate effectively and manage people is important because you are going to have guests that are going to, or customers that are going to come in that are going to be unhappy for various reasons. And whatever that reason is, you need to be able to determine what it is that they require of you in order to leave satisfied. That can be done a variety of ways. Some people will just take a hotel as an instance. Some people would like for you to give them a sincere apology and express your regret over their circumstance, and that's all they require. Someone to be sincere with them. They don't want you to give them money. They don't want you to give them things. They don't want you to take a night off their stay. They just want a sincere apology. Likewise, there are the people who come in and they are unhappy and they would like you to reimburse them for their stay. And that can be done a variety of ways. You could give them, if your hotel is one that has a restaurant, you could give them a voucher for a free dinner at the restaurant. You could take a portion of their room off, their room rate off. You could even give them a complimentary night. There are a variety of things that you can do. A lot of hotels also have a rewards program wherein you could give them points towards their, towards the rewards program. It's a fairly common thing to do. But if you misread the situation and you give someone something, it can also be an insult to them. For instance, I get checked in and I'm staying in a pet-friendly hotel, and you happen to have put me in a room next to a room that had a small yappy dog. And the yappy dog was yappy all night. And you didn't get very much, or I didn't get very much sleep. And I came to you, and I expressed my desire I expressed my unhappiness of the situation, that I have not had sleep because of this small yappy dog. And you in turn say, well, here, let me give you these free voucher points. That's not what I want. I would like you to give me a room where I can get sleep. I can't get sleep in my room. The easiest suggestion there would be to find me a room where I can sleep. I don't require anything else. Or, let's say, continuing the scenario, I came to you, I haven't been able to sleep because small yappy dog. You say that's no problem, I'll move you to another room. I get to the next room and the air conditioner isn't working. Now I'm extremely upset. I couldn't get sleep in my first room because there was this yappy dog. Now I get to my second room and it's hot and I can't sleep. It is swelteringly hot. You move me to a third room. Something happens in the third room. Now I'm still upset. Giving me a sincere apology at this point isn't going to take care of my problem. It's now 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I am upset. I have to be to work at 8 the next day. At the very, the very best case scenario, I'm getting 3 hours of sleep. And all you want to do is offer me an apology and remove me. That doesn't cut it at this situation. I'm agitated. Likewise, if you say, I'm very sorry, here are some points, that's an insult. At some point, and you have to be able to read this situation, there are various things that you can do as an apology or whatever that then turn into an insult. I'm supposed to be accepting of the fact that I've got no sleep because you gave me 1,000 points. You gave me 1,000 of this intangible thing. That does not make me happy. All that does is make me angry. And you're not wanting to make me angry. You're trying to make sure that I leave satisfied because you are the manager. So you don't need to just be able to read your employees. You need to be able to read your guests. And that, I feel, like I said, is the most important thing. Then once you move on to the next thing, I believe you need to be self-motivated. And I believe that is the second most important thing that a manager can have. Self-motivation. Why? Well, because ultimately, the things that need to get done, if they don't get done, it falls on your head as the manager. Now, I should stop and say that this is only if you intend to be a good manager. If you intend to be a bad manager, by all means, you do not need to be self-motivated. Why? Well, because then you can just be an evil manager and blame the lack of things getting done on your employees. Basically, you throw the people who are depending on you to put in a good word for them under the bus. That is a bad manager. Don't do that. Being self-motivated means two things. It means that you get up and you do the things that need to be done without being told. It also means that you get up and get your employees to do the things that need to be done. You are not only your own motivation, you are the motivation of others. Because regardless of whether you get your own responsibilities done, if they don't complete their responsibilities, it falls on your head as well. So you need to be able to motivate yourself and motivate others. I'd say the third thing is charisma. I'm getting a really strange look from my brother, so let me explain. As a manager, you need to be able to be well liked. At least in a professional sense. I'm not saying that your employees need to be buddy-buddy with you. In fact, I would go so far as to say that's detrimental, but I'll get to that in a little while. But you do need to be liked by your employees. You need to be trusted by your employees. And charisma is a big part of that. If your employees feel that you aren't capable, or that you don't follow through on your word, or worse, that they just don't like you for some reason or another, they aren't going to be as willing to work for you. Whereas, if your employees believe that you are a good boss, that you do the things that you say that you're going to do, and that you have their best interest at heart as well as the company's best interest, they're going to be more willing to work for you, more willing to do the things that you ask, and will ask less questions and sabotage you less. Because let's face it, your employees are people as well. I don't know about any of you guys, but there have always been situations with me where I have gone in and there was either a direct superior or someone superlateral, or maybe a teacher or counselor or coach or whatever, whom I felt was not a good person, and therefore I was less motivated to work with them. And it wasn't so much that I would actively sabotage them, but I can say that I was not as cooperative, not as hardworking, not as motivated. So you need to be charismatic. That's something that, in my opinion, is learned and not natural. Now, there are people with natural charisma. I would point to my brother, who I seriously doubt that he recognizes that he has any charisma at all, but I'm sure you all would agree with me. He is very charismatic. You can completely ignore his hand motions here because this is not his video, it's mine. I was going to say something and I realized I had to stop myself because the people that are watching this wouldn't understand.
Is it something horrible?
Yes.
You probably should not say it then.
That's why I stopped myself.
Thank you. You can tell me it later.
Where was I?
You were talking about the fact that you believe charisma is either natural or learned, but either way it is required.
A manager, for better or for worse, a manager, in my opinion, is also a leader. And I say that because you are in a position of, I don't want to use the term leadership. The employees under you are following you. They look to you for guidance on how to complete tasks, as well as assistance in dealing with their coworkers and understanding, etc., etc., etc. And therefore you are a leader as well as a manager. You aren't just managing tasks, you're leading people. You aren't managing things, you're managing people. And charisma is very important in that. If your employees like you, they're going to trust you, they're going to believe in you, they're going to come to you when they have disagreements or issues, they're going to come to you to seek guidance in resolving issues, both interpersonal and in regards to their work. They're going to not be afraid to come to you with suggestions for improvement, etc., etc., etc. Whereas if you are not charismatic, it's not to say that you can't still be a decent manager, but if they don't feel that way toward you, they're not going to be as likely to, especially if they feel they can't trust you. moving forward, or I suppose moving unilaterally, or not moving laterally. I don't know why I said unilaterally. Moving laterally. That can be taken too far. If you are very, very charismatic, your employees are going to, and if you're very charismatic and you don't manage your relationship with your employees correctly, then you run the risk of passing the boundary between employer and employee, between manager and subordinate, into the friend zone. And in my opinion, that is the worst mistake that you can make as a manager. My reason for that is, once you've passed that zone, you have lost a good portion of your authority. And that is something that you need to be an effective manager. You need to be in a position of authority. And if you sabotage that by becoming a friend, or worse, a romantic interest, then you have sabotaged your authority. Now you can say, oh, well, I keep the two things separate, but you can't. It is physically impossible, because even if you say I'm going to keep the two of these things separate, this person knows that last Friday you got so drunk you threw up. They know that you went out drinking on Sunday night and came into work Monday morning with a hangover, and that's why you have a headache. They know that the reason you've been all out of sorts is because you and your girlfriend broke up. Or they know that the reason that you're all in a rush to get out of work on Wednesday is because there's a new video game being released and you want to get to the premiere. At some point, them knowing these things is going to leak into your work, your professional relationship. And you're going to do something, and they're either going to be in a bad mood or whatever, or it's just going to be some offhand comment. They're either going to tease you, or you're going to be trying to discipline them. You're going to be trying to discipline them, and they're going to throw this back at you. And you're not going to be able to say anything, because it's true. You did call into work because you had a hangover that day. Or you did leave early not because your daughter needed to go to a dentist appointment, but because there was a game release. Or the reverse is going to happen. You're going to get in an argument outside of work, and then when you come back to work, the relationship is going to be strained. You simply cannot mix personal and professional. And I would go so far as to say this is true even in relationships and friendships that existed before you became professionally associated. In my opinion, it simply does not work. Wouldn't you agree?
No.
You don't agree?
Not really.
Would you care to explain?
No. It's your show, not mine.
You're participating. You're sitting here and you're on camera. So explain.
Well, I'm going to elaborate my counter-argument with a simple moment here. Here we go.
Well, I have to admit that I am defeated. You are absolutely right.
In my opinion, it is a degree of moderation, not extremity. That's all. That's the only thing. In other words, for example, if I were your boss, this is a bad example, but bear with me. If I were your boss, I would still be your brother. But I would not try to keep the two segregated because you're still you. But at the same time, while you're on duty, you're still going to be expected to do your job because that's how that works. But at the same time, I'm not going to go too severe in the other direction either. So my point overall is the way I tend to think of it and the way I have managed in the past, because you know I've been a manager at a couple jobs now. Is I would say, I'm your friend, but I'm also your boss, and kind of a mix of the two. If you go too far either way, I'm going to rein you back in. ¿Comprendes?
Brother, that was an absolutely horrible example. Would you like to know why? Because if you were my boss, you would just be my boss because my brain is literal. So while I was at work, you would be my boss. And then while I was home, you wouldn't be my boss. I know I would still be your sister. I am still in your heart. It is good to know.
You're fired.
I have no clue what he's been saying. Can I have an English translation, please?
What I said was, even though, you know, you're right that in that specific example is not a good one. If I were to use, say, Gary as an example, that would probably work a lot better.
I still disagree because Gary's Gary and you're you. And
I see no problem here. Everything works. I win.
Okay, let me throw this example at you. If you were Michael's boss.
Well, I would be his friend. And I would apparently turn into the Joker. Would you like to see a magic trick? I'm gonna make this friendship disappear! Breathe, breathe. You want water? Do you need water? 1 squeeze for yes, 2 squeezes for no. Blank of response is also an automatic yes. Let that go. Let me go get some water. Okay. Drink.
Shut up.
See, she's just upset because I was just intimating things that I couldn't do. Like, for example, the fact that I'm the Joker. Which I totally am not, by the way. I don't even know if they can hear me. That's actually going to be really funny. This entire time, they just hear you and then this mumbling in the distance because they can't actually tell what I'm saying. That's going to be hilarious, you realize. I'm not even sure we're on camera right now. Hang on a second. Am I on camera? Okay, I'm barely... See, I've been like over here, so I'm actually not really on camera this whole time. I should just move the chair closer.
You should probably shut the door. We might be keeping Jano awake.
That's a good point.
Yes, my brother just made me laugh so hard I was crying.
I do that every now and again.
You should get used to it.
Let's go ahead and get rid of this again. What?
I forgot where I was.
You, my dear, were talking about how you believed and outlined the reasons why you would keep things fully segregate. Of course, it is also worth noting my sister is capable of keeping things so thusly segregate because she has a mind that can do that. Most people, in my experience, cannot. Cannot. Do not have the capacity to take two things that are automatically meshed just by their nature and do this with them.
I have a very computerized brain. It's something that I've developed over the years as a response to my natural inability to concentrate. Either that or I'm just weird.
You are just weird, my dear. And you developed it as a way to concentrate.
I manage all of my interpersonal relationships in a very computerized manner. It doesn't always work, so people either like me or they don't.
For example, I don't like her.
At all.
I hate her.
He does.
I hate you so much. Do you hate me too?
No.
Oh, damn it. This kind of hurts. I shouldn't have done that.
Here, I fix problem.
No, no. Oh, God, okay. Okay, I'm okay. think I drank too much carbonated water, because that's what I drink. I just keep going.
I don't know where you were trying to go with that.
I brought you some examples, by the way. Keep going. I just want
Of bad managers.
Yes.
The PHP. So, it is important to notate that any time I speak, I refuse to speak in absolute. So everything that I'm saying here is not an absolute. Of course I am making allowances for exceptions in that. But what I'm saying is, in the majority of cases, crossing the line between boss and friend is a no-no. Because either the boss or the employee is going to be unable to keep those two things completely segregate. And in every setting and situation. Now, I'll give you an example. I had a boss who, as much as she is a good person, she's very young. And so she felt that the best way to manage her employees was to be their friend. It didn't work. Not because she was their friend, but because she became so engrossed in making sure that she was on their good side, that she maintained that friendship, that she wasn't doing her managerial duties. She wasn't ensuring that they were doing what they were supposed to do. And then, when she discovered that she wasn't doing her job and she got reprimanded for it, she went to the exact opposite extreme. She completely stopped trying to be a friend and tried to be a manager, which had exactly the opposite effect that she hoped that it would. Because the employees were all used to being friends with her, and then whenever she stopped being their friend and started expecting them to do their job and being managerial, reprimanding them for not doing their job, etc., etc., she encountered a lot of disdain from her employees.
I have 3 examples so far.
Oh, you should stop.
Of things that I actually have encountered in my job. Not kidding.
So my point is that it's not that being your employee's friend or being in a romantic setting with your employees is going to be a negative thing 100% of the time. It's that the 1 or 10 or however much percentage of the time that it does go wrong, it goes far worse wrong than it would in a situation where you are not in that extra relationship with your employees. Therefore, I have come to the conclusion that it would be better to keep those two things segregate, i.e., your friends are not your employees, and your employees are not your romantic partner.
It's worth noting I was talking about the friend thing, not the romantic thing, just to make that clear.
Do you agree with me on the romantic issue?
I've actually already talked on my channel about why you should keep romance segregate from your professional life.
In my opinion, it is also important to keep romance segregate not only in situations of employer and employee, but also in situations of coworker. I have been in that setting and it doesn't end well. It requires a lot more work. It should be noted that I was the one who was dumped, and that might have had something to do with it, but that guy was just... Yes, he's dead. No, I'm kidding.
You don't know that.
He's not. I know. I ran into him. He's married and they have a kid.
Well, actually, I didn't mean to tell you. That was all actors I paid.
He's now married to the other woman, by the way.
Very unhappily.
Oh, very happily.
He pretends to be happy. You know how that works, you know. Where you're like, I'm happy. Everything is great. Everything's wonderful. Wonderful. It's wonderful.
I understand it's wonderful.
It's so wonderful. Oh, kill me. Kill me. Oh. Oh, God. That's twice today. What the heck, sis?
You told me to kill you.
True.
You didn't tell me not to res you.
Also true.
Would you have preferred I'd cut off your head and stuck it in a jar?
No, because I don't actually want to be from Futurama.
Okay. Would you have preferred I chopped out your brain and put it in a robot?
Sis, we don't talk about Plan XY on the chat, okay? They don't need to know about that.
We haven't developed the technology enough to have the robot. That's why I didn't.
Well, actually, I've been meaning to talk to you about that.
Did you finally get it to work?
Well,
The gyrometric system is functional now, so it'll actually stay upright?
see, the problem is the R6XY series kinda went berserk.
Oh.
I don't know if you've been reading what's been happening in Syria right now, but,
Was that the chemical weapons attack?
my bad, guys. That was just my bad.
Why did you implant chemical weapons in the robots?
No, that's the cover story. The robot is the real problem.
Have we got it under control?
So Dilbert, right?
Do I need to go and take out my big giant sword and chop it in pieces?
Why do you always use the sword?
Because the hammer just makes a mess.
Well, yeah, but it's so much more satisfying to go crunch than slice, at least in my opinion.
Then why do you dual wield axes?
Because I don't have a good mace graphic, my dear.
They don't make a good mace graphic.
Exactly! Case closed. I win again. That's 2 I won this time, too.
I didn't realize that I lost.
I win all the conversations.
Don't listen to him, he doesn't. But those are the 3 main things I think that is important to be a good manager. You need to be a good leader. You need to be a good delegator. Now, let's talk about what makes a bad manager.
Oh, hey, I may be able to help with that. Yes, dear. Let's say you're a manager, right? Now, let's say that you want to try to be, because you have decided that to be friends with your employees' methodology is the way to go. Okay?
Because the best managers are friends with their employees, because that means they are the most well-liked.
Now, let us also presume that your employees hate your guts because you're a worthless loser who knows nothing.
To translate, you joined a profession in which you know nothing about, and yet you're trying to act like you understand it, and you understand your employees, yet you're failing, and so you're going to overtake the position, completely rearrange everything that's going on in the company in order to make it seem like you know what you're talking about, while screwing everything entirely up in ways that are so broken and convoluted that not only can your employees not understand why you would do something, but they actively dislike you for doing it.
So, that exact example, and yes, this is a real-life example, I was reminded of by this comic, if you'll forgive me in brief. Our new software will gently warm the keyboard so the keys are easier to press. We will bundle it with our software that makes your laptop lighter. If you don't get that already, get out of my channel. No, I'm kidding. But
He's not.
if you do get it, you understand the point. To someone who does not understand what they're talking about, that sounds at least moderately plausible. For example, someone who's never encountered any of these phrases or has any knowledge or understanding of them whatsoever. And yes, there are people like that, to be fair. There are people who simply don't know things like that. You, however, are a technology manager saying things like that to your engineers. Like me.
Shall I give a real-life example?
Well,
that is outside of the technology field?
By all means. Because all my examples are in the technology field, from the PHP. And Tom and...
Let's say, for example, that you are working in a hotel, and that you work on one of the busiest shifts of the entire time, which, for those of you who don't know, that would happen to be second shift when all of the people are checking in. In my arguable, it is...
It might be arguable.
Thank you. It might be arguable that that is not the case, that the busiest shift is first shift when everyone is checking out, but in my opinion that the busiest shift would be second. So, the busiest shift being second shift, and your manager comes to you and says, I am going to make your life easier. And it's, oh, this is wonderful. You're going to streamline the process of my jobs so that I can get through them easier, have more time to deal with customers, and spend less time trying to fight with paperwork. Now you're going to do this by giving me more paperwork. You're going to initiate this checklist. Checklist is fine. I understand that checklist to make sure I've done everything so I don't forget anything. Cool. Now you're going to add on paperwork that must be done twice a shift, once at the beginning, once at the end. By the way, the busiest times of your shift are the first hour and the last hour. So in addition to this hours long worth of paperwork that you already had to do at the beginning of your shift, I'm going to add on this extra thing, which is going to take half an hour. And it must be completed both at the beginning and end of your shift. So there's now an hour and a half worth of paperwork that must be done at the beginning and the end of your shift. Now I am going to take this one checklist that you have to go through, this one series of paperwork that you have to go through and proofread and make sure that everything matches between the computer and the paperwork. I'm not going to let you use this simple to print out report. In order to do that, I'm going to make you go through and hand click and go through everything individually. And I'm also going to add on 15 different things that you have to check between the computer and the paper. So I'm going to take something that would take you normally on a busy day when we have a full house, that would normally take you an hour at the most when we have a full house, and add so much stuff to it that it now takes triple. An average shift is 8 hours long, so we now have an hour and a half at the beginning and an hour and a half at the end. There's three hours. Something that did take 45 minutes now takes triple that, so another 3 hours. There's 6 hours, plus all of your check-ins, plus everything else. I'm now up to about 10 hours worth of work that I have to get done during my 8-hour shift, and that is supposed to make my life easier. Thank you. Oh, and I still have to check people in and run towels, because I'm the only person there. There's no housekeeping. Oh, and if somebody's toilet springs a leak, I have to go fix that. Oh, and it flooded my lobby, so I have to do all of my paperwork while cleaning up the lobby, while enjoying the management, while ensuring that the guest that was in the room that the toilet flooded is moved to another room, and that toilet is no longer flooding, so that it will stop flooding my lobby, and clean up that room so that it's not just water sitting there completely destroying the floor. And you've just made my life easier. How?
Well, let me explain it for you in Steve's voice.
Manager Steve.
Manager Steve.
Well, actually, talks like this. So, here's the way things work, okay? What I did was I took all the extensive experience I have working in a completely different environment from what you work in, okay? And I said, you know, being a manager is basically the same thing. You know, when you're one place and when you're in the other. See? See? So you just go do your job.
I lost my accent twice during that. I had no idea what I was going for. I was trying for Goofy at the end. Yuck. No offense to Goofy. Goofy's awesome. Seriously. Anyone who's played Kingdom Hearts knows how awesome Goofy is. No, not the ears. Now let me ask you something. Are you interested in the concept of theoretical fairness? In other words, the idea that even in something that 90% of the time is wrong, the concept that there is a theoretical possibility for the other 10% existing where it is not obviously a bad thing. Let me give you this straight. The idea that, let's say you are a manager who's just been hired for a field you don't know, working with people you don't know, dealing with situations that you're trying, genuinely, mind you, trying to actually do your job at. How, in your opinion, my dear sis, do you deal with this nightmare job? Because that would be a nightmare, at least for me.
It's not a nightmare.
It would be for me, because I would hate that. I would, like...
You know, it's rather amusing that he brings this up.
Uh-oh.
Because that is the exact situation that I've found myself in recently. Now, granted, I wouldn't consider myself a manager, and this is the reason why. 1, I know absolutely nothing about the field that I am now currently managing. 2, I only have 2 employees.
I thought there was a 3.
I don't know what 3 would be.
3! That's the third point. It's the most important point.
So, finding myself in that current situation where I am sort of, kind of, technically a manager, or at least I've been told I'm a manager.
That's a whole nother bundle. Okay. Manager, congratulations. Here's your extra responsibilities. Pay? Why would you give you more pay? No, you don't have any other actual power or authority. No, nobody actually reports to you. You just have to make sure these things happen the way they're supposed to happen. Congratulations on your promotion.
That's not what happened to me.
That has happened to me.
Anyway, I just started a new job. And the current job that I have started is in the field of...
Don't tell them. Make them guess.
Guess. I'll give you 3 hints. It's not restaurant, it's not hotel,
It's not technology.
and it's not technology.
Anybody who guesses will get free muffins straight from Gawa.
Yes, Gawa-chan and Chibi-chan will both give you free muffins.
If you guess correctly.
But you have to guess correctly, and you have to have guessed correctly before we get to the point at which I tell you.
Which will be the next video, by the way.
Which will be this video.
No, but then we have no way of tracking it, dear. Because they're going to guess on the comments. Think these things out.
But then how am I supposed to talk about my example, which you just brought up?
Allegory it.
Okay, fine.
Pretend that the job that you're having is a technology job, of which you know relatively nothing. And you're in charge of 2 people.
I worked as an IT assistant for...
Okay, fine. But pretend you're in a high technology job.
I was in charge of, like, everything.
No, for God's sakes. Okay, pretend that your job is to be the President of the United States.
You really don't want me to get into that because my lack of political brain does have opinions on political matters.
We here at Arshay and Guy's channel do not discuss politics whenever we can avoid doing it.
I wouldn't feel bad talking about politics, but I'm not allowed to talk about politics on his channel, and you guys would hate me because
Anyways,
I can't talk
so,
about it.
As I was saying. Okay, I got a better idea. Pretend.
How about I just do this?
Pretend you just became a general of an army, okay? You are now in charge of the 113th adjunct. Just to fill something else out, fill something else random there. And you have just been given an assignment. See, she's evil. She's evil.
No, because I almost slipped into Z's personality.
No, that would be evil. That would be genuinely evil.
You want to put me in charge of riffraff? Are you seriously putting me in charge of people who have absolutely no combat experience? And just
Just call them
exactly
riffraff.
what do you want me to do with them?
Call them riffraff. Street
Yes.
rat. Scumbags.
The idiots.
Anybody who gets that reference gets a cookie from me, by the way. So, Z, I'm putting you in charge of these, but I'm not giving you any extra money or any extra actual authority.
Can I kill them and just do my job?
No, because then you will have to hide the bodies. And that has to require a 17-point form, as you well know.
How about I just completely disintegrate the bodies, because I'm capable of that, you know.
We actually have another form for that now. It's a little bit longer. It's
Can
a
you go ahead and
22
give me
point
12 of those?
form. Sure, here you go. 1, 2, 3, 4. The printer only prints one at a time. What do you want? There you go.
Sign this.
Okay.
Sign this. Sign this. Sign this.
See more butts.
Sign this.
Sign
Sign this. Sign this. Sign this.
I will kill you all.
Sign this.
Serial this man.
Sign that. I lost count.
I have no idea. I wasn't keeping
I
track.
think I'm
at
at
all.
10.
11 more. And no, I'm not gonna say it. I was gonna give a huge spoiler away, but I decided not to. Even the name would be a spoiler.
Can you sign that, please? I can't read lips.
Yes, I win.
Alright,
You haven't
now
actually
I'm
answered
going
the
to take
question,
these and
though.
stick these in my bag. What was the question? I'm sorry.
The question, dear sis, was in that circumstance, for someone who is in that position, what would you recommend?
Well, that depends on the person, because you also need to understand yourself in order to be a good manager.
Pretend you're the PHP.
I'm a PHP. I am going to walk in. I am going to create a whole bunch of new forms that make absolutely no sense, have not the information that is required. I'm going to give them to you. I'm going to tell you that these are the new forms, that you don't need to fill out the old forms anymore, and that I'm going to completely rearrange how you file things and turn in reports. And I'm not actually going to tell you that we're changing how we're doing this filing system. I'm going to completely destroy the office, not tell you where anything is. I'm also going to get rid of the forms that you actually need to report for the actual official, for the government paperwork. And I'm going to give you no substitutions for them. I'm not even going to tell you I got rid of them. Oh, and I'm never going to answer my phone.
Okay, that one's not true. He answered his phone constantly because he had no life. It's the only one that wasn't true on that whole list.
Now, would you like me to tell you how I myself would handle it?
What do you think, guys? Should we let her tell us? Vote through time travel. I've got actually a time reader right over here. And so I'll actually
I'm seeing unanimous yeses across the board.
Are you? Oh my goodness, you really are. Wait, one guy voted no. Okay, now he's
That's
banned.
a troll.
He's been banned. It's okay. We're good now. Go ahead and tell him.
Okay. You do realize now that one guy, we're going to have to completely erase his memory of having watched this video so that he'll vote no.
I get so tired of that. I only have 3 usages of those per month, you know.
Then you shouldn't use the time machine, because then you give it away.
But how else am I going to learn the lottery ticket numbers before they're done? And how else am I going to see the next episode of... what's a TV show that's out right now?
I don't know. I don't watch TV.
I can't think. I was going to say House, and I was like, wait, that's over. Burn Notice. Wait, that's over. Doctor Who. Wait, I don't care that much. Star Trek isn't out. Insert TV show here. That's a great show. You should watch it. Continue, dear. What have you done? Now that we have a 99 percentile vote.
Coming into a situation where you aren't familiar with the genre of your work experience, but you've been told that you're going to manage people. I am of the opinion that it is not impossible for you to still be a good manager in this situation. And I say that because I believe that you can go into this situation with a good heart, fully planning to do the best that you can do, and make it work. You do that through a variety of ways. One, on your own, independently, try to learn about the setting you are working in. That means taking responsibility for the fact that you're a manager now, and doing work outside of work in order to better understand the field. That doesn't mean you need to become an expert in it, but you should understand the field. For example, if you are hired on as a manager for a hardware store. I couldn't think of anything.
I know nothing about hardware.
Not computer hardware, I meant...
Yes, I know. I'm trying to picture how to even vocalize not knowing what a hammer is. I need a bangy thing, and we need more cutty things. We need more cutty things. We're not going to make our daily quota of whatever it is we quota at a hardware.
Okay, let's change that. Let's say that you're the manager of an auto shop.
Oh, God.
Can you imagine not knowing anything about cars?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, I will pretend I know nothing about cars.
So you're going in and you're a new manager of an auto shop, a body shop.
Oh, that's even worse. Body shop is cosmetics, right? Aesthetic changes as opposed to a
Framework, bodywork,
Yeah.
tinted window glass, painting.
Mm-hmm.
My father's a body man.
Really?
Mm.
Which one?
My father, not Eric.
Okay.
My biologically birthed father. Okay, this is a good example, the body shop thing, because I don't like nothing about cars, right? Okay, I understand the concept. You get your oil changed regularly. There's maintenance things you have to do. This is the key. You start. I know how to open the hood. I even know how to add windshield wiper fluid and power steering fluid. I even know that you need power steering fluid, and the power steering fluid being out is bad. And I sort of kind of know how to change brakes. I did it once, but I don't actually remember how.
Brake pads, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, they had to replace the whole brake thing.
That's slightly more complicated. Not too bad. It's one of the easier things to do by yourself. That's one of the reasons you can go and buy parts for that at a shop, for example. Continue.
But other than, the basic concepts, I know nothing about it. But my point is, even going into a situation where you know absolutely nothing about nothing, you can still be a good manager by taking the time and effort to learn the basics of it. The concepts, not being able to go in and, change somebody's oil or rotate their tires or, whatever. Understanding the concept of these things, being able to understand some of the lingo, your employees are going to respect that you may not know everything about everything and that you're not going to be an encyclopedia of knowledge that they can go to and ask you questions, but they're going to respect that you're trying. So that's the first thing that you need to do if you're going to become a manager of a field that you know nothing about. The next thing that you need to do is to be considerate.
You mean become their friends?
No, I don't mean to become their friends. I mean to respect the fact that they have a knowledge of this particular field that is greater than your own. You can go too far with that. If you lean on them or make them feel that you are depending on them and their knowledge, they will lose respect for you. But it is important that you not try to act like you are superior in your knowledge to theirs. Did that statement make sense?
Yes.
Okay. It made sense in my brain, but sometimes the words don't come out right.
Okay, here, let me translate it for you guys, okay?
They don't speak Russian.
Damn it! I give up. I'm out. Peace. I can't get up quickly to make this dramatic exit.
Here, I'll just flip the chair over. That makes it easier to flip.
No! I'm taking you with me. I'm taking you with me.
But then your chair that you love so much might break.
You would break my chair?
No, you would break your chair by pulling me over with you.
Good point. Alright, there's only one solution. Oh, God damn.
Problem solved.
Oh, God, okay. Oh. My repair bill is huge now, you realize that, right?
No, I told you to sell that for gold.
What? No.
They don't have this kind of technology in WoW. They'll give you lots of gold for it. Think of how much the gnomes would pay to have an i5.
Think how much the goblins would pay.
The goblins would cheat you.
Then I'd kill them and get all their gold.
Well, then you don't need my phone to go kill them.
I need something to take to them. God, I gotta think everything through for these people. I got this new invention. It's called a writing implement, okay?
We have those. They're called quills.
Check it out. Oh, yeah. How's that for some tech?
Give me my pen back. Where was I?
You just mentioned the second thing, which was to respect their knowledge within moderation.
Yes, respect their knowledge with moderation, that they have a stronger knowledge base of this particular field.
Now, the third thing that you have to do in order to be a respectful and successful manager is to have the Master Sword. When you have the Master Sword, what are you doing?
Making sure they can see.
Yeah, they can see it, see? When you have the Master Sword, I mean, no, no. I'd rather cut myself. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to actually start you. You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. Ah.
Ah, my fingers! My fingers!
Hang on. I'll do a blood off paladin healing. Whoosh. You can see my arms back here. There we go. Third thing. The third thing about being a manager in a field in which you know nothing.
Be open to input from your employees. Now, that's something I feel like you should do regardless of whether you're in a field that you don't understand versus, or one that you do understand. If you're in a field that you do understand, you still need to be open to your employees, because your employees are going to think of things from a different perspective than you. So if there's room for improvement or ways that you could make I feel a sense of impending doom. I also feel that someone is laughing really hard.
I'm so sorry, sis.
It's okay.
I should have just left and let you do your video.
No, it's fine. I'm sure they're going to get a kick out of this.
I hope so.
What was I talking about?
For once I don't remember.
We're screwed. Oh, be open to
Yes. Feedback and stuff.
suggestions. Be open to suggestions, because your employees are going to think of things from a different perspective than you, and are thereby going to provide input that might be beneficial in ways that you wouldn't know. For example, I feel that it is one of the primary duties of a manager to make their employees' jobs easier. Now, not to the extreme that you are taking their work off of them and putting it onto yourself, but to the point of being able to streamline their job in order to make it easier for them to do their job. To give an example that I already cited once, remember the bot manager that I was talking about that was attempting to streamline and ended up adding additional work? I'm glad that you remember. That's how you kill Goombas.
Did you just take my heart?
No, I took the coin.
Guys, I'm a heartless now. Sorry. Oh.
Your heart is now money.
Oh my god.
You've turned into Zeiss.
No! God, kill me, kill me, kill me, kill me. My heart's still money?
No, no.
God.
I took the coin one out and put flesh in it. I didn't really. Don't tell him.
Wait, what? What'd you just say?
Nothing.
Okay. I thought you said something. We're good.
You know, I bet you could get some gold for that.
No? Well, yes, actually, but the way it would work is they would not look at this as a humor book, but a manual. The goblins would look at this and say, "That's a great idea!" Think about it.
But you could sell it and make gold. I don't think it worked. He didn't turn into Zeiss.
Thank God.
So, were I in that particular setting, what I would have done would have been gone to my employees and said, look, we need for you to be able to do blah, 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 and blah. We have this particular issue that is involved with this. what are your ideas for for a policy that I could implement that would make sure that you were able to complete all of these objectives while solving this particular problem? I would have listened to their input. Now, I may not have followed through on their suggestions, but I would have listened to their input. And even if you don't follow through on the suggestions that they have or implement those suggestions, the fact that you are willing to listen to those suggestions shows that you care about their thoughts on the matter. So they are going to be more likely to open up to you, more likely to come to you in the future with suggestions, less likely to feel resentment for you for these changes in policy, etc., etc., etc. Now, to go to the real life situation, in my particular instance, I am working on, I've been brought in specifically to manage this particular company, or this particular branch of an umbrella company, and I've been tasked with the responsibility of bringing it into the digital age. They do use computers. However, the majority of things have been done predominantly with pencil and paper and hard copy. And it has gotten very messy and very disorganized, and it simply doesn't work that well. So I've been tasked with digitizing things. Now, some of those things were fairly easy to do. I created a new digital version of the forms. I streamlined the forms a little bit so that it made more sense where things were located on them, laid out in a way that was easier to read, both for the person that was scheduling the jobs and for the person who was reading the jobs to go perform, was reading these applications in order to go perform the jobs, etc., etc., etc. But in addition to that, there's also been the need to speak to them and ask them things, various things like, are there things that you would like to know that would be helpful for you to know before going on to a job site about the particular job site? And they have come to me with several suggestions, and I've been able to take those suggestions, implement... Oh, it's a leaf. I forgot you had World of Warcraft in the background, so I just saw a leaf going across the top of the screen. I'm like, what is that? It's moving. Shiny. Anyway, I've been able to take those suggestions for things that they would like to know before going on to a job site, incorporate them into the initial form that we fill out when we take a request for a job, and that way, whenever they go to it, they already have that information. They don't have to worry about it. I've also been able to take information that is more pertinent to them, put it in locations that are more easily accessible on said form. Things that they would need to know at a glance, for example, how to get onto the job site, if there were going to be people meeting them at the job site or people that they needed to report to at the job site, if the people they were going to be meeting at the job site were going to be late, etc., etc., etc. I've also been able to take information that is important to me in the office setting and move it into places where it is more easily accessible for me. For example, the start time of the job, the date and start time of the job, who the particular technician that's taking care of the job, who initially took the form for the job, so that if there is missing information, I know who to go to find out those details, if the job has been paid for up front or not, how much the total of the job is, etc., 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 why certain fees are in place, etc., etc., etc. All of that information has been put in a place that is easily accessible for me, while not getting in the way of what the technician that is going to be on the job needs to see. Now, it is slightly more complicated in other settings because I need to have a central location in order to keep track of where jobs are scheduled, so that I don't schedule multiple jobs under the same technician at the same date and time or have overlapping times, because these jobs take a certain amount of time, and therefore I need to allot that amount of time for each particular job. Now, the good news is that each particular job does take a set standard amount of time, so it's not like I have varying degrees of time, but they do have varying degrees of start time. For example, the jobs take 3 hours time frame, so if I schedule one to start at 3 o'clock, I can't schedule one to start at 1 o'clock, because that would only give the 1 o'clock job 2 hours of time to get done. I would need to schedule the other one for noon. So I have to have some place to keep track of that. Now, Originally, it was my idea to put it all on a calendar and give everyone equal access to that, but that didn't work because not everyone in the office who was scheduling these jobs was capable of inputting things onto the computer. So then I was having to keep track of it in 2 different locations, which got to be a little bit messy. Now, I didn't have any instances where I double scheduled, where one was on the computer but wasn't on the paper, or one was on the paper but wasn't in the computer, and I scheduled regardless because I only schedule things while I'm in the office so I can look at both. But I did have to have an instance where they had to push one job backwards time because I had overlapped them by about a half an hour. I didn't allow for enough, or I hadn't overlapped them, but I didn't allow for enough time to travel in between the 2 jobs, and so I had to push the one job back a half an hour. And I still haven't resolved that issue, but I've been asking, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think I've pretty much just for the time being given up on the digital version of it, despite the fact that it would be easier for both myself and the technicians, because there's one person in the office whom that would not be easier for, and unfortunately I can't get that person digitized. I am incapable.
I still love
It's good to know. So,
you. Yes.
that is my answer to your hypothetical question.
Pretty good answer, all things considered.
Do you have any suggestions or additions therein?
Nope. None that wouldn't take more than an hour.
We've already been in here an hour. I
Yep.
don't think it'll hurt them to listen to a 2-hour tea time with Xahn.
I have 3 more quick examples to toss by you of things that have actually happened to me.
Yeah, okay.
First of all, this happened to me rather literally. The PHB shows up and says, "We have a little pre-meeting to prepare for the meeting tomorrow." Dilbert's response is, "Whoa! You think it's safe to jump right into the pre-meeting without planning it?" Now, when I say this literally happened to me, I said that in the middle of a small pre-meeting meeting as a joke. I got a couple of laughs out of Gary and James and Dave and a couple other people who were there. And the PHB nodded his head and said, "That's a good idea, Magnus." Or, whoops, whatever. Arshay and Gaia, because that's what I call you at work. Anyways, he did. He said, "That's a good idea. We should go do that." So we started doing the planning meeting for the pre-meeting for the meeting. Now, what do you think about that, my dear sister?
I think that's entirely superfluous.
But why? How do you manage a meeting without a pre-meeting to plan the pre-meeting for the pre-meeting?
If you are a manager, you need to be able to sit down and sort out your notes for the meeting ahead of time. If you require a pre-meeting in order to prepare your employees for the meeting, you aren't doing your job correctly.
Next question. What do you think when a manager excessively overgeneralizes about his employees? Para exemple, I can't give a raise to younger employees because as soon as you get a few dollars in your budget, you buy small motorcycles and disappear into the night. Now, I know that's a generalization. I know some of you prefer cocaine. This is also one I've kind of been on the receiving end of. The owner of the company used to treat us like we were literally grade A retards. And to the point where he was like, "Okay, now in order to turn on the lever, you have to actually push the on button, okay, and make sure it's plugged in. That's very important. And once you're done with that step, you need to make sure that you actually check to make sure it is on. It'll be vibrating and stuff like that." And this is not hyperbole, by the way. He did this often. What are your thoughts on the type of manager who overgeneralizes to the point where he treats you like you're vastly inferior to whatever you may actually be? That don't involve a gun, or a knife, or a shark, or salt water. Now that you know that story.
Can it involve hogs?
No, because that's even worse, and I know why. You're horrible. She's the evil one, by the way. I'm not evil.
They heard my real evil laugh earlier. On this video.
So do you have any professional line thoughts about that kind of a thing?
In order to be a good manager, you need to be able to trust your employees to do their job. If they aren't capable of doing their job, or you feel they aren't capable of doing their job, then you need to be able to either give them the instruction or provide them a learning opportunity either via classes or a tutor in order to be able to do their job. You cannot gain the trust and respect of your employees by treating them like idiots. Either they are capable of doing their job or they are not capable of doing their job, and if they are not capable of doing their job, then you have failed as a manager.
Back to you, Ken.
Isn't that my line?
Yes.
And now we go back to Archie and Gaia. Next example, please, Archie and Gaia.
You pronounce it strangely. You do Archie and Gaia instead of Archie and Gaia. It's very interesting to hear you say it. Next example, again, one that has actually happened to me. The example in this one I'm actually not going to list because I don't need to. What do you think, dear sister, when a manager tries to be, I like to call it being cute, okay? They're not like that. Because that was actually cute. But no, what do you think when a manager tries to, either they're implementing a policy or in efforts while they're communicating with you, they do something in a way that's trying to be relatable to what they believe you to be, when it is not, and they try to be slightly humorous towards you in a way that is verifiably not humorous, and furthermore simply awkward, uncomfortable, and generally negatively impacting. Par exemple. I'll give you the example from Dilbert, because I don't want to get into the many, many examples from real life, because those sucked. I'm going to give you these 2 pennies at the beginning of your shift, okay? And then you give me these 2 pennies back, and that way you give me your 2 cents when you give me your report at the end of the shift. See? By the way, the Dilbert example is less stupid than the ones I've had to go through. I wish I was kidding about that. So what do you think about that, sis?
And I think that sums up my opinion on that matter.
All right, back to you, Xanastma. I had to think about which name I had to use for you. I could call you Xanriel if you prefer.
I'm not saying real.
No, you're not. Oh my God, if you were Xanriel, you would not be my sister.
No.
Or my friend, or my anything. Get out, get out.
I might be Zari. You can make the case that I'm Zari.
No. I disagree.
Zari is the closest thing I have to a goblin, by the way. That's why my Zari is a goblin.
Well, first of all, your nose is nowhere near that big, sis. Second of all, neither are your ears. Now you look like a really strange elephant. My sister's apparently an elephant, guys. I'm out of examples.
You know,
I'm getting too depressed thinking about that damn job. That job sucked so much.
you're not working in that job
I
anymore.
hated it so much. It was nice to begin with, and I didn't mind the work. I just hated my bosses. Not all of them.
The original boss was okay.
Dave was awesome. Dave was great. Speaking about what she said earlier, one of the things Dave did very correctly was Dave knew that he knew a decent amount about technology, but he knew nowhere near what his tier 2s or tier 3s did. And so he would come to us with a problem and say, here's what I need done.
But I don't know how to do it.
But I don't know how to do it. How do I do it? And they would tell him. And he was like, okay, what do you need to do that? What resources and time do you need? Blah, blah. It worked. It worked great, actually. Now, that won't always work, but in that specific case, it did work very well. Dave was an awesome boss. Dave's also the guy who hired me, so... But that's irrelevant. He was an awesome boss, in addendum to them. And then I started getting other bosses. So I'm not going to think about that anymore. You know what I'm going to think about instead? My new job is the Lich King.
You're an excellent Lich King.
Thank you. See, apparently I'm a good boss as a Lich King.
He just micromanages everything down to a T. In fact, anything is incapable of doing anything at all within the Scourge without him telling them to. It works great for him.
I mean, what, you know?
Oh, that brings me to another point. in every setting except for the case of the Scourge, being a micromanager generally is not going to work. If you stand over your employees' shoulders and tell them how to do what they're doing as they're trying to do it, well, if you've ever been on the receiving end of that, you'll understand where I'm going.
I'm not going to give a literal example. Do you mind if I give an example, sis?
Sure.
I'm not going to give a literal example, but this did actually happen to me once. I'm going to use an allegory. Pretend you're working in fast food on a register, okay? And your boss calls you from home. Says, I need you to ring out a half pound, okay? Or whatever that was. I can't actually remember. They called them something different after I left Arby's. They call them like the big Whopper or the big roast beef now or something like that. You know what I'm talking about? We used to call it just by poundage. But anyways, okay, so I need you to ring up this burger, a Whopper. You work at Burger King. I need you to ring up a Whopper, okay? What I need you to do, sis, or I'm sorry, Zanasma, what I need you to do is I need you to hit the button that pulls up the main burger window, okay? And once you're in that window, I need you to actually push the button
Wait, hold on. I have to get back to there.
And then you have to hit the button that says Whopper. Now, here's the thing. I only want one of them, so you only have to hit it once, okay? That's very important. Now, once you hit that, you have to hit OK in order to put it actually into the slot for the order. Now, once that's done, you need to actually hit the button that pushes it through. Now, I'm going to be paying this on credit so that... I really wish I was kidding. I really did have a manager call me more than once and say, all right, Arshan Gaia, that's not what he said, obviously. You know, and he would run me through...
That's totally what he said.
He would run me through...
He said it just like that.
Step by step.
Like, Arshan Gaia, I need you.
I have a sword over there, I'm just saying. I have something much more deadly right here, though. Ugh.
I fixed it. He can't stab me anymore.
Brains.
Oh god, it's the Scourge! Quick, Rez!
Oh god, I just had the most horrible nightmare.
You tried to turn me into the Scourge.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll just tickle you instead. I'm done. Truce. I don't know why you're doing the whole hand, but okay, we'll shake cut it normally. Have you ever done the truce shake? Truce shake. Shake on it. See. She's never heard of that. Ugh.
My finger was behind the trigger.
Oh, God, why do you keep killing me today? Do you have any final parting words, my dear?
Oogla boogla boo.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Oogla boogla boo. You can end it with a chuku.
I don't end it with I don't end it with that.
She doesn't know how to do it, I think. Come on, do it for the fans. Do it for the fans.
No, I do.
Do it. Come on. It's thousands of people. No. They're all watching you. They want you to do the chuku. They want you to do. Do it.
No, it's not.
Do it.
It's
Do it. Oh, the button's
Chew!
down now.